to see, you must look at the difference between Genesis 5 verse 1 and Genesis 5 verse 3. 5 verse 1 say that Adam was made in the likeness of God. Okay? Then you come and he said, Adam lived 130 years and he begot a son in his own likeness after his image. That means he was born in sin. Okay, that's a difference. In the likeness of God, Adam, but when he got the son, he said he was born in the likeness of his own father. Now, how was Seth born? In sin, and therefore something had happened, and I'm not going to talk on that. I want to show you something that's the descendants of Seth. Okay? So now, the change from that of Cain to that of Seth, where they start to call upon the Lord, is the godly line from Seth. His first son was named Enosh, which means mortal man. Look at the difference how Cain started, a new beginning, full of myself, I want to begin without God. When Seth has his first son, he called him Enosh, mortal man. And then the second one he called Canaan, property. And then Hahaleel means to praise God. And then Yared.
Can we get those notes?
Yes.
Later? Okay, because this is all in the notes I saw when I was translating. So.
Yes, this is all in the notes, so you can have the notes. I just want to mention you quickly to see that what the descendants of Seth were. So they will send it to you by email or whatever. You can all have all of these notes, and you'll have all the names there. So it's a different beginning than Cain and his descendants became. As it was in the day of Noah, so it will be in the last times. So, we are supposed to be at our next lecture. If you give me some time, then I'll just keep my notes and put it on the project for the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Good.
Ja.
Okay.
Begin of the end.
Yeah.
That's around the circle.
The beginning of the end.
You mean the beginning of the end from the circle?
Yeah. Now the beginning of the end. It's complicated, but it's yes.
Well, I have still one question about Genesis 5 verse 1 and 3.
Yes.
So we are not made after God's image, but after Adam's image.
After your father's image, born in sin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've lost what Cain, what Adam had in the Garden of Eden, like the image of God.
Yeah. So you cannot say that people get born that now we are born after God's image.
No.
You cannot say that anymore.
No.
Okay.
So you get it back when you get born again, to become like that image of God, to become like Jesus Christ. So the difference, they say, the difference between Adam and Eve when they was in the garden was the same when Jesus was on the Mount of Configuration, when they see the light around him, they see the glory, and that was the way they looked in the Garden of Eden, with the glory of God around them and the holiness of God in them. So they've lost all that image of God.
Oh.
Okay.
And that were Adam and Eve.
Adam and Eve
Yeah.
lost that, and after that, Every boy that was born from Adam and Eve and his son and his daughters, they are built like the image of their father in a sinful nature. Good. There are certain, yes.
May you make that point that you can say that we draw the image of the Lord? How can it be that in Corinthians it's written down that babies are holy in the believing parents?
Yeah.
How can it be?
Holy means set apart.
Yes, but they are holy in the parents.
Yeah, but holy doesn't mean what you think about holy. Holy just means they are set apart for God within this family. They are set apart. But we'll talk about that later. Okay, you can talk about it. Okay? So, there are some things that just will end by itself, like a fire. You start a fire, it burns out by itself. You start a flood, it stops by itself. And that's what happened here. Like the avalanche, it will stop somewhere after ruining a lot of things. So now we see how the Lord describes it in the following chapters, which we cannot deal with in detail, but we will look at it, and that is, at the beginning of the end, the world was ungovernable. Chapter 6, verse 1 till 7. It was ungovernable, full of sin. There was the great falling away in chapter 6, verse 1 to 3. The world was wicked and lawless. How far back is Genesis 6, verse 1? If you look at verse 1 to 4, and see that it gives you account of 1,000 years of falling away. And you read verse 5 to 7, at what was it like at that moment? And verse 8, what would follow afterwards as a result of the falling? How bad can things become in 1,000 years' time? People living in sin. Chapters 5 verse 22 gives you a divine revelation when Enoch, who walked with God, called his son Methuselah, which means, very interesting, when he is dead, it shall be sent. Again, a name that's like a prophecy. He gave his name Methuselah, by God inspired. So, what does that tell us? He became the oldest man on earth, namely 969 years, and exactly 120 years after his death, the flood came. When he died, that will come. So imagine what it looked like during this time, and you just think about it. If you read chapters 6, verse 1 and 2, what were the angels having those ugly things with the men on earth or the women on earth? We'll talk about that later. So I side myself with Henry M. Morris. If you can get that book, I don't know if you can get it anymore. It's the best book on Genesis, the Genesis Record. And he said about verse 1 and 2 that you talked about, or think about what happened when they said the sons of God came and had sex with a woman on earth. Is it really the angels, or what happened? So Morris said, who claimed that fallen angels possessed the man who attracted the woman, and the woman used cosmetics to beautify themselves, and they gave birth to giant children who were possessed. And the wickedness on earth just increased. And that was the beginning of the end. What was the result Yes.
Sittler Baxter doesn't agree with that.
Sittler Baxter?
Did Sittler Baxter said that it cannot be that angels come in human form, but they can come in human form, but not in a human flesh, and really be one with human woman.
Yeah, the angels can't have it with it, but they possessed the woman. The people. They possessed people. They're doing demonic things. And when the children were born, St. Maurice, that so it wasn't the angels having sex with a woman. You know, angels coming in the form of a man having sex, it can't be. I agree with Baxter. Okay? But the angels were demons, bad angels that possessed the woman and the men, and doing this filthy things. And then Maurice said, then after that, because of that, there was these giants that was born from that woman.
But also demons can become in the flesh.
No, they can't.
But not produce fruit.
They can't come in the flesh. They can appear as somebody, but not in the flesh, not flesh like me and you. They can possess somebody.
But the same as today, people are possessed by the devil. So actually it's the same. But how do you then explain that, how do you call it, the very tall man?
Giants.
Oh yeah, the giants. How can you declare? No?
Well, God stopped it. That's why God stopped it, because of those people.
Yeah, but the giants, what were they?
What were they?
Yeah.
Well, we can say there's people that say that they got proof, but I don't know if it's that through pictures of huge people, and if that giants were just strong people, bad people, giant people with power more than any normal man. Robert?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, there's this apocryphal book about Enoch that tells more, what happened really to mankind.
Yeah, but how did the giants become giants?
Yeah, because the demons slept with the women, and then they became this
Yeah,
giant.
but still today.
How can that be
Today
true?
Okay. We're going to talk a long time about that, and you're going to take my time. I think
Sorry.
we sit at a table and we can talk about that, okay? Otherwise we're going to, I know that this is going to be a problem, but because one's got this and the other one's got that. So you can stick with Sito Baxter, I believe him, and Maurice is more the same that he said. Okay. So, actually what we know that there were wicked activities, and you find that in 2 Peter 2 verse 4, for if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reversed unto judgment, those devils, those demons that did that act, never came out of the hell again. They were captured for final. And then after that, all the people that was possessed also was taken away by the flood, so that only 8 people were left on the earth. So the wickedness increased. In Jude 1 verse 6 and 7, and the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains. I think you must read this in his own Bible, Jude 1 verse 6 and 7, otherwise we're going to take too long time, okay? Even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, are set forth for an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. So, then there was the increasing anarchy or lawlessness. Population increased outside of the marriage. There was violence, perversion, sex-mad world, Lamech with his 2 wives, and the slander you read in Jude verse 15, and then the satanic activities. Just think about what the world looked like at this stage. So it's the beginning of the end. What does this matter? Does it any matter? Yes. Why? Because God, who is holy, He had to witness it. He's seen everything. What's going on? In Genesis 6 verse 5, the Lord saw how great man's wickedness on the earth had become, and that every inclination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil all the time. All the time. So, the Lord was grieved. Genesis 6 verse 6. Then he had made man on the earth, and his heart was filled with pain because of these creatures that he loved. He's living in sin. And then God made a decision. In Genesis 6 verse 7, it was the beginning of the end of them, and they did not even know it themselves. They carried on living in this way up to the day that God closed the door of the ark. But God was starting to doing something at the beginning of the end. There was a divine intervention. Verse 8 to 22. How did God do it? God always finds somebody that's willing. You always find a man or a woman that He can use for His purpose. That's why God used a very special man. A man that knew God, and God knew him. He knew his heart. He was trustworthy in verse 9. He set the example in verse 10. That's Noah. And God trusted him, verse 11 till verse 13. And he was a man of faith, in Hebrew 11 verse 7. Just think about it. They've never seen the rain. Nobody has seen the rain, and God said there will be rain, and the whole earth will be full of water. And He said, you go and build an ark. And all these wicked people, and Noah said, I will do it. And for 120 years he was preaching and teaching and building the ark. With the wickedness of people, he must have been a special man. If you don't see nothing happens in 120 years, will you still trust the Lord? So God had a special plan. And I think that's the reason why God talked to Noah, and Noah knows God's got a plan. It's not my plan. That even in God's wrath, there is mercy. There are so many questions today about whether the ark really exists. And I believe that all of you have been to the ark in Netherlands. All of you? Not? Why not? You live in Netherlands and you've never been to the ark that man built.
I've been there.
You've been there? Oh, you've been there. Good.
You also said
Yes, good. I was there about 2 years ago, and it was to me, it was like a testimony of God with this man, with his faith that he's built this ark. And I believe that he said sometimes you're going to let it go and, drift with it somewhere around the world, and may God help him to do that, just to be a testimony. And all those people looking at that. So when you look at the ark and you read the Bible, somebody said that it's not true. It's just a myth. It's not the truth. But if you see the many texts in the Bible that literally refer to Noah, the ark and the flood, there it is in the Old Testament. You get the notes and you can write it down. And the New Testament also, it's full of them. So now the question is, and if you visit the ark, then there you see, well, it's possible to get all those animals into the ark. How did all the animals fit into the ark? the ark would have been able to transport 125,000 sheep. The way it was built. It could transport 125,000 sheep. Now, according to biological systematics, the big names, there are approximately 18,000 species of consisting of mammals, birds, reptiles, of which are most of them smaller than a sheep. So calculated conservatively, we need space for 75,000 animals in the ark according to the plan God gave to Noah, how big it must be and as. So it's taking up 60% of the ark space. So there's still 40% for Noah and his children and whoever to walk around for the food and everything that they need.
And I also think that all the animals were more when they were a year in the ark.
Yeah. Okay. Get more.
Yes.
No. Well, somebody said somebody said that because of the climate and the sudden change of the climate and the water coming up and down, when you get animals, they hibernate. Some of them hibernate for 6, 8, 12 months. So somebody said they must have fallen asleep, or that's why they didn't need so much food. But that's just humanly. God can do anything. He can say to them, no, you're not doing that. Leave. You mustn't have children on this ship because then it will be overcrowded. So God could have stopped it. So He's in control. God said it, I believe it, and that settles it. I know that 2 of them went into the ark and 2 of them left the ark. And some of them were more because they are other kind of animals. But that's what they use. They had to. And so now people ask, how did they get into the ark? Listen, it was more difficult to get the people in the ark, to get the animals in the ark, because the animals listened to God, and the godless people didn't listen to God. So God has let them in. How? I don't know. God said it, I believe it, and that settles it. People question a lot of things about the ark, and if not, and why not, and if they ask that questions, normally they are unsaved people. But when I get born again, I said, well, this is what God said, and I believe it, and that's wonderful. If you go deeper in the Word and see all the truths of God, that everything is fit into each other. But there is some questions I would rather ask the people. Don't why ask these questions. I would like to ask 3 questions. And the first is, why was the ark made out of cypress wood? You read it, and you read it was made out of cypress wood. This is the same wood that was used for the doors of St. Peter's Church in Rome, which are more than 1,000 years old, and there's not a bit of decay on it. The best wood to use. Everlasting. So I don't want to put something in it. But what is the archetype of? What's the type of the ark? Jesus Christ. And the cross. And the salvation. So you can put for yourself something in it if you say, what does it mean? The ark only had to last for 1 year. Only for 1 year. Why must they use this that's everlasting? Because the cross won't lose its power. The cross will always be there. Why was it coated with pitch? The Hebrew word for this pitch is kafar, which means to cover up. It's the same word that's used in Levi 17 verse 11, which means reconciliation, which is to cover up. So the ark was there for salvation, to cover up, to keep the people safe in the ark. So everybody that's in Christ are safe. That's what it means. That's why it was covered up with this, to protect them that's inside. Who will protect us and cover our sins? Jesus Christ. He's the perfect type of the ark. And then the last one. How did they gain entrance to the ark? There was only one door. And who closed that door? Not Noah. God closed the door. So if there's only one door, then we must say, in John 14 verse 6 said, I am the way, the truth and the life and the door. And John 10 verse 7 to 9 he said, I am the door. But I think our time is running out, so let's move on. Just look at the previous one. Noah could neither change the past nor turn back the clock, but a future full of hope was in store for him and his family. When they stepped into the ark, they were out of the danger of the judgment of God when He closed that door. There's a book of Peter Pelser, and I wanted to bring it with you, The Evolution Illusion. Can you translate it in Netherlands? The Evolution Illusion. The Evolution Illusion. Yeah. And somebody said here, I don't know, yesterday, he said you must have a lot of faith to be an atheist, to believe all that junk. But to have faith in God is easy, because I trust in Him. And that is what Noah did. In chapters 1 to 11 of Genesis, you see that is the fly in the ointment. You know what that is? The fly in the ointment? The fly in the salf, die vlieg in die salf. Sometimes we call it, there's something, you can't use that, it's a fly in the ointment, you know. But the problem for these people that don't believe is Genesis 1 till 11. They want to take it out of the Bible. But when you look at Genesis chapters 8 to 1, it starts with this way. Listen, 8 verse 1 starts on a new way. But God remembered Noah. What a consolation it is to know that God remembers us. What did you think went through Noah's mind while he and his family were together with all the animals floating around in the waters in the ark, which took him 120 years to build? It was in the darkest hour, when you wonder where God is, you know that God was there with him. You read Luke 23:42 and Hebrew 2 verse 6. You read this. No one is as deaf, doof, as he who does not want to hear, neither as blind as he who does not want to see, nor as dead as he who does not want to live. You can talk to them. You can give them all the facts. Everything. If you don't want to listen, you will be deaf. If you don't want to see, you won't see. You won't like it. And now we read in verse 4 that the ark came to rest. The mountain, they suppose it was Ararat, was created from lava which was formed under the sea, 17,000 feet high. So I believe that you believe that was the whole world that was covered with water. You believe it also? Or just a certain part? The whole world?
Yes.
That's the way. That's what happened. All important here is that the ark came to rest after the storm of the flood. It literally came to rest, and the words came to rest is the same as that words that we've seen yesterday, that God rests on the seventh day. It means it was finished. What's supposed to be done was finished. So all evangelical Bible students and commentaries refer to the ark as a type of Jesus, just like 8 people were saved through the ark. There is salvation in Jesus Christ through the cross. Noah and his family waited patiently in the ark while God was busy working, busy destroying everybody. And it was a totally new world outside the ark, having been changed by God. If you read 2 Peter 3 verse 6 and 7. 2 Peter 3 verse 6 and 7, He's changed everything. And there are many visible changes after the flood. Listen to Genesis 7 verse 1, and he said to Noah, "Come." Where? Into the ark. And then, after that he said, "Go." So God was the first one in the ark, and he was the last one to leave the ark. He said to Noah, "Come." And then he said, "Go." Like for you and me, he said, "Come to me." And we come to him, and then he said, "Go and preach the gospel. I am with you." When everything was at end, something remarkable and of great importance happened, and that was not a sin offering, but it was a sacrifice. You read the moment that Noah went out of the ark, you read in Genesis 8:20, "And Noah builded an altar unto the Lord, and took of every clean beast and of every clean fowl, and offered a burnt offering on the altar." You know what a burnt offering is? It's the highest offering that you can bring. If you read Leviticus, I don't know what it's in English, and you read Leviticus 1 till 7, you read about it starts with the sin offering and all that offerings, and the last one is a burnt offering. And when you get to the burnt offering, it's a sacrifice where there's no sin, not a sin. It's a fully giving over to the Lord and thank the Lord. It's like when Abraham brought his son Isaac as an offering, he brought him as a burnt offering. You read that in what happened then? "This is a sacrifice I bring to God after He has done something for me," when He starts afresh and makes everything new. And Genesis 8:21. "And the Lord smelled a sweet savour, and the Lord said in His heart, I will not again curse the ground anymore for man's sake. For the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I again smite any more living as I have done." So, the next lesson. After all that happened, God is still in control. You will see it in our next lesson.